Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Market Snapshot series. My name is Rufus Kamau, Markets Analyst at FXPesa. So today we'll be talking about the key highlight events that are expected to be moving the markets. We also take a keen focus on the central bank decisions that are about to happen over the week. And these includes the Federal Reserve Bank of the US, the Central Bank of Canada, Bank of Japan, as well as the European Central Bank. So once you join in, kindly say hi on the comment section. This will verify that everything is working just fine. So as usual, this session does not constitute any form of investment advice. It's not a recommendation to trade, so you should always do your own due diligence. So beginning with the key highlights, we know that for the week, the US President Trump has been visiting Asia with a key focus on Japan. And as you can see on this update from Forex Factory, most of the top news in the markets is around and surrounding Trump. So key highlight from Forex Factory, Trump praises Japan's great female leader in talks on trade and critical minerals. Key highlight here from Trump, Japan has placed orders for US military equipment. So there's a lot more going in the trade negotiations between Trump and Japan. So moving over to financial news, you'll notice it's the same kind of updates we are seeing as of this morning. For instance, Toyota is building plants in the US worth about $10 billion, so still more on the negotiations. Toyota is going to be putting auto plants in the US. Japan and the US sign MOU on shipbuilding. US Commerce Secretary Rotnick, I'm going to working with Japan on shipbuilding. Trump, Japan's PM, Takaichi is tough to negotiate with, but it's a good relationship. So all these are pointing to good progress in negotiations between the US and Japan. And this is basically building a very strong bull case for the Japanese stock market. That is the Nikkei 225 index. So other than that, now focusing on the calendar, we know it's a bit light today, being Tuesday, the 28th of October. First things first, we had Bank of Japan core CPI data coming in at 8 a.m., where the consumer price index was up 2.1%, and this is, as expected, a slight rise from the previous reading of 2.0%. So going forward for the day, we'll be looking at S&P Case-Shiller Composite 20 Housing Price Index at 4 p.m. So this basically shows the measure of the housing price in the US, and in the prior reading, there was an increase of about 1.8% year over year, and we're expecting that to slow down to 1.4%. So we'll also be getting the official housing price index month over month, and we expect a negative 0.1% drop for the prior month. So we'll also be getting the Richmond Manufacturing Index, which is expected to slightly improve to negative 11 from negative 17 in the prior reading, and also the CB Consumer Confidence Survey. So for the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Survey, it basically shows how confident Americans are in their economy. And if they are confident, it tends to be good for the dollar. If the confidence is worsening, then it tends to be negative for the dollar. So the big news will start from tomorrow morning, where we'll start with the CPI in Australia, which is a measure of inflation, and we expect a slight uptick to 3.1%. So other than that, we will majorly be focusing on the central bank decisions from the Bank of Canada, which is expected to cut interest rates by 25 basis points from 2.5% to 2.25%. Of course, we all know this. Whenever we see a rate cut, this has mostly been negative for the Canadian dollar. So the more they keep cutting interest rates, the more the Canadian dollar continues weakening. So on the other hand, we'll also be getting an interest decision by the Fed. This will be at 9 p.m. tomorrow. We're expecting a 25 basis points rate cut from 4.25% to 4.0%. which will be only the second rate cut in about a year. So this is largely being priced in, and we will be checking on the dollar later to see how the market is reacting to the potential Fed rate cut, which will be happening tomorrow. So fast forward to Thursday, we'll be getting another interest rate decision by the Bank of Japan, where the market doesn't expect any change in the interest rates. So we expect the Bank of Japan to continue holding at a rate of 0.50%. So the last central bank we'll be focusing on will be on Thursday, the 30th of October, where we'll be focusing on the European Central Bank. It's not expected to cut interest rates. So we're expecting them to hold steady at 2.15%. And then towards the end of the week, we'll be getting manufacturing data from the Chinese economy, European inflation data, that is for the Eurozone, where we're expecting inflation to remain at 2.1%, and for the core CPI to slow down to 2.3%. So clearly, it's an action-packed week, and we know that the US government shutdown is still continuing. So there's still a lot of uncertainty in the market, though there's a potential progress that could happen within the week, and perhaps they will be able to resolve the deadlock in Congress. So I'm checking on the comment section. You can see MK in the house. Greetings, Kemamuturi. Good morning. Thank you for joining. You can see Kareb Kinyanju in the house. Good question. Do you think having 0.1 of Bitcoin will be a fortune in the next 20 years? Absolutely. I think it will be a good chunk. What do you think about USDJPY? We'll be doing that on the analysis. Good morning, Rich Wamboi. I can see Jason in the house. Noel Kambi, Odiwa, good morning. Rahul, will the Fed release the cut rates despite the shutdown? Most likely. The Fed is not shut down. It's only the statistics bureaus that basically do the data, especially the consumer price index. They do the labor market surveys. But for the Fed, we expect that they will be fully working. So good chance that we will be getting that rate cut finally. Morning, Fred. I can see Paul in the house. Good question on JPY pairs. I can see Lothar Roberts. Thank you for joining and good morning. So I'm still checking on this other side. Just give me a second. Awesome. So on checking on the other updates and trying to understand what's happening in the markets, one big surprise is EU passenger car registrations jump, which basically jumped by 10.0% year over year in the month of September, accelerating from a 5.3% increase in August and marking the third straight month of growth. So a big jump in passenger cars means that the motor companies are about to jump big. So this is very much accepted. So gold dips to over 2-week low. We saw this happening. So compared to the all-time highs that we saw last week, now we have officially entered a bearish market territory. So it's seeming to be pushing even further downwards. And as traders, we enjoy the big volatility happening in gold. So there's an update on oil. Japanese shares slip after Takaichi Trump meeting. South Korea economy expands by 1.2% in Q3. South Korea consumer morale declines in October. So on the update surrounding crude oil, there's one key development, and that is the OPEC preparing to increase output. So WTI crude oil futures fell below $61 per barrel on Tuesday, marking a third stage session of losses as traders grew increasingly concerned about a supply glut following signals from OPEC Plus that it may raise production again. The group is reportedly leaning toward a modest output increase in December when it meets on Sunday as Saudi Arabia pushes to regain market share. Adding to the bearish sentiment, analysts noted that the US sanctions against Russian oil giants, Rosneft and Lukoil, could be less severe. Sources familiar with the matter also say that Washington's strategy is to make Russia's trade more costly and risky without triggering another spike in prices. These factors overshadowed optimism over US-China trade negotiations after senior officials from both sides agreed on a framework for a deal to be decided by US President Trump and the Chinese President Xi Jinping during their highly anticipated meeting in South Korea on Thursday. So a potential trade deal is also driving markets, and this could explain why we are seeing a very strong bullish market happening in both the SP 500 and the Nasdaq, as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So other than that, also looking at the oilprice.com website, you notice that crude oil has mainly been bearish today. WTI down 0.1%, Brent 0.18%, Moban crude down 0.43%, and natural gas down 1.02%. So, trying to see if there is any highlight we missed. On the forex side, as for today, the strongest currency seems to be the Japanese yen. And as I mentioned, the strong positive negotiations between Japan and the US is also boosting their market. And so far, the Japanese yen seems to be doing really well, up 0.53% compared to the dollar. So currencies are largely unmoved, barely moving. You can notice the biggest mover outside the JPY is the Swiss franc, which is up 0.15% against the USD. And the biggest loser is Australian dollar, but it's a very small drop of negative 0.06. So on the week, we'll notice now the discrepancy in that the dollar has been the weakest due to the expectation of a Fed rate cut on Wednesday. Whereas the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and the New Zealand dollar are the top movers. So if you are to be looking for a strong currency, that would most likely be Australian dollar or the Japanese yen. Whereas if you're looking for a currency that is really weak, then that would most naturally be the Canadian dollar. So that being said, I believe now we can jump into some technical analysis and try to understand what's happening in the charts. So kindly give me a sec. So for those who are new, this is called the MetaTrader 5 trading app. This is the app that we use for trading on a desktop. If you prefer trading on a smartphone, then we have the Equity Trader by FXPesa. You can check it out on the FXPesa website. Download the app. You can also download it from App Store or Google Play. So European stocks seem to be doing quite negatively today, so not the favorite for the bulls. But let's talk about the big mover as of this morning, which is gold, which has been falling since last week. So we know that last week we hit a new all-time high of about 43.82, and now we are down more than 8%. I believe now it's 10.68% from last week's high. So this is a strong bearish momentum. So if you want to take advantage of it, then by all means go for it. So for those who are new, you should know that FXPesa is offering 100% deposit bonus. And this means that if you deposit, let's say $1,000, then you get 100% bonus, which means you would have $2,000. So if it's your first time trading, then you might want to consider that offer. So on the bearish momentum, we know that we were working with last week's low. So if you look at last week's low, the lowest price, it was $4,003 per ounce of gold. So as of this week, especially on Monday, that was the target, but now we have broken below that, which means that we are likely to push to the next available support. And when we look back at our charts, we know that for the, I would say in the last 3 weeks, We had this time when gold was unable to break this area. This was the key level resistance. And right now, the market is heading for that path. So good chance that we see the market going for that 897 price action level, which is quite a short momentum, but highly probable. So good chance that we see gold going for this. And once we breach that, then our next target would be on the prior week's high, which was that 790. So for now, we look for that 897 and then potentially that 790. So silver is also doing the same. It's currently trading at last week's low and attempting to push lower. So if you go to a higher time frame on the 4-hour chart, you notice that the next available target would be 45.228 per ounce of silver. So on the Brent oil side, it's also a big mover as of this morning, and it's approaching a key level area which was previously serving as a resistance and now turned into a support level. So good chance that we see Brent oil going for $63.749 dollars per barrel. And once we breach that, perhaps now we move on to the next area, which is way lower and around 62.832. So on the Nikkei 225 index, as I mentioned, Trump's travel and negotiations boosted the Nikkei on Monday at open. And since then, what we have been seeing is more of some form of consolidation. So nothing much has been happening after yesterday's big jump. So right now, it's in a form of consolidation, and we'll be waiting to see if there's a break outside of this. But the idea is to continue enjoying the bullish momentum once the market breaks outside this consolidation on the 15-minute chart. So on the UK side, we have a very familiar pattern. I think we have been observing some of these patterns play out over time. And on the 15-minute chart, it's more of a consolidation since Monday's price action. So we haven't broken Monday's high. We haven't broken Monday's low. We know that eventually this market will break out and present us with a trade. So the idea is that if the break is on the upper side, we go for a bullish trade. And if the break is on the lower side, we go for a short selling trade. So it's a very interesting asset to be watching because the potential break could present a very nice momentum trade. So on the currency side, the biggest movers of this morning seems to be USD JPY. You can already see that since the market opened, there has been such a huge drop. The market attempted to recover, pulled all the way back, but now it's continuing. So if you look at the H1 chart, then you know that there's a good chance that we will be pushing further back downwards. So in this case, potential extension of the momentum to around 151.46. So for dollar trading against the Swiss franc, we had this period of time where I would say the market was pretty much directional. This was a big momentum move. And then since then, all we have been seeing is more sideways momentum. So the sideways momentum seems to be limited at this resistance area and also at this support area. So yes, the market is attempting to break lower, but for the past 5 days, we can say the market has been moving sideways. So we'll be looking to see if the market decides to retest some of these lows. We have this key level support and of course this lowest price here. So potentially if we breach this area, we could be moving this way. And that is if the dollar weakens as a result of the rate cut. So a potential retest of the previous support. So we continue observing the price action as of this moment in this area. So on the Euro USD side, we know that we had a forward trend line on the upper side, which was acting as the resistance up until it was broken. So since then, what we have been seeing here is a market now forming a higher low. So last week's low compared to the previous week, here we are seeing a shift in the trend. And for the high that we saw here, we could be seeing the market going to challenge it. In this case, what I'm implying is that the euro is now forming some form of bullish momentum. And if you check the last 3 days, it's a very strong bullish momentum, which implies that we could reverse the prior trend. So in this case, a potential push to the last 2 weeks high could be happening, and any pullbacks might represent some entry opportunities. So if you go to a smaller time frame, such as the 15 minutes time frame, then you start looking at these areas here. They have been working as key level supports and, of course, potential entry zones. So if the Euro USD was to do this, pull back to this trend line and then bounce and continue the trend, that would be amazing because it would represent a nice entry opportunity. So looking at the pound, on the other hand, yes, there was an attempt to move higher yesterday. We got to our target, which was the previous 2 days high. But now, upon reaching that area, we are seeing a very strong momentum of short selling. In this case, in the last 3 hours and now the 4th hour, we are seeing a very strong bearish momentum. So good chance that we see the market testing the support area of 1.33046. So as for the Australian dollar, we had this consolidation. The market was largely moving sideways. Then it opens with a weekend gap. We can all see the gap here, but didn't cover the gap and the market kept going up yesterday. And now is the time that we are seeing some form of reversal. So the idea is that as we progress further in the week, there's a good chance that the market might decide to close this gap. And that implies a bearish momentum all the way down to 0.65121. So it's a wait and see kind of scenario. So once we see more momentum, especially similar to what we saw in the last 3 hours, then that would likely extend to close the gap. So on the US equity side, you will notice that after the big jump on Monday, the equities have largely been sideways. So we can't say this is a trending market so far. The week has started in a sluggish manner. However, we are still on a very strong bullish momentum and we are trading at a new all-time high. So while on one side, we might say that the market is not moving, this is the highest that the Dow Jones has ever been, and there's a good chance that this might extend. Remember, rate cuts are welcome to the stock market. The market is looking for even more rate cuts. So as a result, we could be seeing a continuation of the bullish momentum, similar to what we saw last week. So clearly, bullish trades should be marking potential break in the current consolidation. So while the UT100, which is a US Tech 100 representing the Nasdaq, was pretty much bullish the entire day yesterday, today has been more of a sideways momentum. So we track this area to see when the momentum comes back. So the idea is to be looking for a bullish trade on the break to the upper side. So you look at the US 500. This is the S&P 500. It's the same thing. So market quite sluggish today. So we keep tracking and wait for the eventual break. So as for Brent oil, we already discussed this. I think we have already hit the area we were targeting. As we were speaking, the market kept pushing. And given the kind of momentum we are seeing right now, this is the 5-minute chart. This is the 1-minute chart. Then you can clearly tell that the momentum is likely to extend below here, which would imply that we head to $62.832 per barrel. So Bitcoin, on the other hand, is making a slow recovery after bottoming at $102,000 per Bitcoin. So you go to H1, you realize that yesterday we had a pullback and now the market is bouncing. So an area that was a key level resistance is now turning out to be a good support. And now we are looking at a potential extension of the rally higher. So for New Zealand USD, we can see that the market has been shaping up some form of support along here. And the horizontal trend line here was representing the resistance, an area that the market was unable to break for some good time. So yes, we opened with a gap yesterday. We closed the gap and the market proceeded to move higher. And now we are looking at a potential pullback, which would likely lead to a further extension of the bull momentum. So even though we are seeing this happening, the idea is to be looking for this, the market moving even higher. So clearly on the upper side, we can try to force some form of trend line here. And that would give us a pretty much idea of how the channel is playing out. So once we get this pullback done and we see evidence of buyers coming in, the idea is to trade in the direction of the channel. So as for European equities, we have the German DAX, the DE40, having a big drop as of this morning at market open, but then that was met with an instant reversal. So here we are seeing more like a liquidity sweep here. Key level was right here. So anyone who had a stop loss here might not be very happy. And now an instant reversal, which implies that we could be moving higher and raise the move in a few hours from now. So for the EU 50, there was some form of similar drop. So if you look at this session lows versus what just happened this morning, it shows an idea that the market was retesting that area, and now the opposite is happening. We are seeing the market bouncing strongly, so we could be moving to yesterday's high, which was a key level resistance, which was tested several times and not broken. So for the France 40, sharp drop as of the open of the market today, but now we are seeing a reversal, which has been a very similar case. You can see the familiar drops, but then every time there's a sharp drop, the market ends up recovering. So for the Swiss 20 market, you go to the H1 chart, you realize that we have a key level support here, and the market went straight for it, which means that we are likely to see a bounce from here, but it's a wait and see kind of scenario. You don't want to be catching a falling knife. You need to see evidence of buyers coming back. So for the Norway stock market index, also the same thing. Netherlands stock market index, also a sharp fall. So we wait until we see evidence of buyers coming in, and then we start looking for opportunities there. So for the Hang Seng 50, we are seeing a very strong bullish momentum for the last 3 consecutive sessions. But then the sharp drop as of this morning was met with more demand coming in, and it seems like the market is reversing from these levels, which means that we are likely to see the market going back and forming a new high. So that's it for the day. I know there were questions about the JPY. I believe I answered as we covered the USD JPY pair. So on the question of Fed and BOC expected to reduce interest rates, while the Bank of Japan is expected to hold interest rate, what is your view on JPY pairs? So everything seems to be going well for the JPY. So good chance that we see the Japanese yen strengthening, mostly as a result of the new trade deal between the US and Japan. So you can already see it happening from yesterday's high, and from the 4-hour chart, you can see this was a double top. So we saw the market making a rally, eventually getting to this point. Then from here, we saw the market rejecting this resistance, retesting, and now attempting to move lower. And now we are seeing what is really happening. The yen is gaining as a result of what's happening between Trump and their new PM. And also at the same time, the expectation of a rate cut from the Fed is fueling bets that the Japanese yen might strengthen further. So a very interesting question about Bitcoin and what might be the price once we get to 2140. Well, if Bitcoin is fully adopted, at some point it will have no price. It will just become a normal currency because nobody would want to hold another currency that is losing. So if inflation continues being a problem worldwide and people realize the power of Bitcoin, good chance they will be operating on a Bitcoin standard. So I'm trying to see if there's any questions I may have missed. No, I think I answered pretty much all the questions. So on the next part, I want to show you something else here. So for those who are new, and if maybe you joined for the first time, you should know that the market snapshots happen every day, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. You have to subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates whenever we go live. So we also have a podcast. It's called the Bullish Banter Podcast. Make sure to check it out. Our latest episode came out 3 days ago discussing crypto versus Forex. And the lessons are from the two markets. The prior episode, we discussed trading bots. Make sure to check it out and share your feedback. So the market snapshot series is recorded live, which means that if you want to check it out at an earlier date, or if you're late, you can always check it on the FXPesa YouTube channel. And lastly, we have a course called Novice to Pro. So make sure to check it out. It's available on the FXPesa website. Just go to playlist and then check out the Novice to Pro course. It's something I did about 3 years ago, basically covering all the intro sessions from introduction to trading, charting skills, tradable assets, knowing your candlesticks, market structures, trading strategies, risk management, and understanding market news, building a trading system, and eventually trading like a pro. So use these resources to your advantage. Let's build a community of traders. So that's it for the day. Thank you very much, everyone, and I hope to see you on the next session.